In 2022, Elon Musk acquired Twitter for $44 billion. Soon after, he fired 80% of Twitter staff. That's upward of 6,000 people. This isn't the only case of tech layoffs or layoffs in general. Headlines are flooded with news of companies deciding to downsize, stripping people of their livelihood, and leaving the general population worried if they're next on the chopping block. Along with that, there are a few other interesting predictions. Freelance work has increased from 36% of the workforce to 46.6% since 2020. The creator economy is projected to double from $250 billion to $480 billion by 2028. And through my own research, I found that some prominent figures predict that AGI, or artificial general intelligence, the thing that everyone is afraid of with AI taking over the world, some predict it by the end of this year. And it happening that fast, the singularity, it increasing exponentially in development. Some other people, prominent figures as well, say that it may take up to 2 years because costs are increasing and development is slowing down. Either way, whether we live until we are 500 years old or have robots doing our chores in the next 4 months or 10 years, the only solution is to take matters into your own hands. That's what you should have been doing in the first place. It's no wonder why people are so worried about being replaced. Their skills are becoming outdated, they're on the verge of losing their means to survival, their family, lifestyle, and ability to find new work is on the line.
Things are changing incredibly fast. Like this generation is undergoing a more rapid change of their technological environment than ever before. Is it really?
Every generation thinks like that, but this time it's real. And it's the first time in human history that nobody has any idea how the world would look like in 20 years. Today, nobody has any idea what to teach young people that will still be relevant in 20 years.
Understanding these next 3 things will benefit your future whether they directly relate to you or not. The first point is that the entry level is going extinct. It's becoming harder and harder to get an entry-level job. It doesn't matter if it's programming or marketing, AI can or is very close to being able to perform basic specialized work in most domains. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that the entry level is leaving, it just means that the bar is being raised. What used to be an entry-level position is now or will be a junior level or senior level position. The existing workforce will be composed of highly paid and highly skilled individuals who have a select few traits. So, what traits do these highly skilled individuals have that you don't? What do beginners do to make an income nowadays? How do developers, writers, marketers, salesmen, designers, and other creative and technical workers survive? The second point is that people aren't as educated as they think they are. I feel like a quote from my book, The Art of Focus, puts this pretty well. If you don't create a purpose, you will be assigned one. Because only slaves were taught to perform one task for the entirety of their life. They were taught career-specific skills like growing wheat, herding sheep, or just riding a horse. Our current education system reflects the education of slaves. Today, we are taught to be useful workers. We are taught to obey the authority. We are conditioned to get good grades out of fear of punishment. A free man, on the other hand, is expected to have a purpose and do whatever it takes to achieve it. They're expected to learn many things throughout their life because goals aren't static. They change, they evolve as you do, as you learn and you gain experience. It doesn't make sense to have one goal or a hierarchy of goals of go to school, get a job, retire at 65. Since the day you're born, to have that goal is just weird because that's not how life works. Things change. You change, hopefully. A purpose is a goal that has a positive impact on others. Most people don't choose their own goals. They are programmed at a young age to have an employee mindset, to do what they're told and only learn in that narrow domain. We'll discuss the problems with this very soon. A goal implies knowledge and skills that must be learned to solve problems that prevent you from achieving the goal. If you don't choose your own goal, you do not choose what you learn or what problems you solve. Your mind remains narrow by default because the goal is narrow. Your destiny is decided for you because the only potential you know is the one you were assigned. So, what do we learn? And how do we protect ourselves against the dangers of AI? Point number 3 is that the future of work belongs to one-person businesses. There are almost 7 billion people on this planet. Someday, I hope, there will be almost 7 billion companies. A business is a legal structure that allows you to 1. Build what you want, 2. Solve valuable problems, and 3. Profit from both. Why am I telling you this? Because I'm tired of people thinking that business or entrepreneurship is reserved for people with startup capital or just a certain personality or set of traits. What they don't understand is that traits are programmed, they're trained, they're conditioned. You can develop any trait you want. You're probably not an introvert. You're just in a culture that would lead to you thinking that you're an introvert. Even then, entrepreneurship is a great path for an introvert because you don't have to deal with people most of the time. You just build in your room and talk to people online. Of course, there's nuance to that. For all I'm concerned, stop thinking of building an independent income for yourself as building a business or becoming an entrepreneur if that doesn't resonate with you. Just think of it as becoming valuable, packaging up that value, and engaging in value exchange, because that's the one thing that's been around since the caveman days. Value exchange, whether it's labeled as entrepreneurship or business, giving and receiving. That's what it is. That's how you make an income. You have to give or contribute something to someone who determines your value outside of the labor theory of value, which is labor theory of value is your work is worth this much per hour. You're going to get that at a job and it's going to get you stuck in there. It's not going to allow you to evolve and increase your income by whatever you see fit and how valuable you become. Social media, the creator economy, and technology have allowed a singular person to attract and monetize an audience, a distribution channel. This isn't a new fad business model. This is the reality of the modern world. Social media isn't just an app on your phone. It's integrated into your everyday life. It would be very difficult to survive without it, or at least in this general society without it. You can go live in the woods, but that's not as spiritually noble as you think it is, just cutting yourself off from any form of responsibility in the world. You can be both spiritual and make money and contribute to other people in an ethical way. We still have a lot to discuss, and I'm sure you have many questions on like one-person business. Are you serious? That's the future of work. But I feel like I'll be able to convince you. I feel like the rest of the video and just the actionable steps at the end about how to actually do it will help. And it's something you can start with $0 to your name. So there's not really a risk. And if you start and fail, at least you come out with a few extra skills that benefit your future. So here's what you're going to learn in the coming sections. 1, how becoming a deep generalist will future-proof yourself. 2, what skills you must learn to make a living with any interest or passion you have and how to learn them fast. 3, why AI isn't as special as you think it is and will only replace those who deserve to be replaced. 4, how to turn yourself into a one-person business so you can take matters into your own hands. And 5, how to go from 0 to 100K to $1 million while working an average of 4 hours a day doing what you want. None of this would be possible at any other point in history. Welcome to the future of work. Traditional education and hyperspecialization is a way to make people subservient to the dominant paradigm or system. Study the generalized principles of nature and be a deep generalist. Daniel Schmachtenberger. I want to introduce you to a certified genius, philosopher, and innovator. He designed the geodesic dome, which revolutionized architectural design by being incredibly stable while also being lightweight. His name is Buckminster Fuller. In his book, Operating Manual for Spaceship Earth, he illustrates a metaphor about the great pirates. The great pirates were just that. Pirates who understood many things like geography, celestial navigation, biology, the men on their ship, the ship itself, history, and science as those were necessary topics to succeed in trade and dominion. The men they brought to work on their ship were stupid on purpose. The pirates didn't want them to understand their strategies and contrive to overtake them and their wealth. They were expected to follow orders without question, and they did. Pirates had global knowledge as they could sail to different lands. They were generalists. The rulers of the land knew only about their land and what the pirates told them, and the pirates can lie. They were specialists, the rulers of the land. This gave the pirates great power and made the land rulers rely on them for trade and knowledge. The pirates influenced the land rulers to give prestigious roles to the brightest minds in their kingdom as a way to keep them narrow-minded. They would give the bright minds roles like royal historian or treasurer, so they spend their days studying that singular niche, rendering themselves only useful to the land rulers and the pirates. Like the men on the pirates' ships, this prevented the bright minds of the land from overtaking the pirates because they were specialists, not generalists. The bright minds were happy with the prestige. The land rulers were happy with having smart people serve them. The pirates were happy with having control over both across multiple lands. The lesson: schools were created to enslave the brightest minds by promising the prestige of specialization. That way, they remained narrow-minded, didn't choose their own purpose, and therefore didn't learn multiple interests and skills that would allow them to overthrow those who assign their purpose. Now, while this is just a metaphor, it illustrates a very important point. It illustrates why specialization is still highly encouraged. Whether it's a conspiracy theory or not of like, oh, schools want you to remain dumb, that's just a byproduct of the schools. People don't like competition. People don't want others to do better than them or outshine them. They don't want you to outshine the master. So this explains why high-paying jobs are the first thing on students or just young people's minds when they're first getting ready to go out into the world. Their first goal results in a narrow, dumb mind unless they go to school, but they also study outside of it. They self-educate and pursue curiosity. So the point is that most people are just programmed to be replaced. Most people just did what they were told throughout their childhood, and that's okay. That's a very common thing. But you need the awareness of someone telling you, hey, there's a better way to go about things in order for you to see the opportunity and actually make the change. So that's what we're here to do today. So please proceed with an open mind. Let's learn how to reverse the damage that's already been done. Do it all. Become a writer, designer, marketer, filmmaker, bodybuilder, runner, or whatever your curiosity desires. The internet gave the individual the power to learn almost anything fast and get results from diverse interests. You are living through the second renaissance. The difference between an animal and a human is that animals specialize or niche down to survive. The problem is that over-specialization leads to extinction in certain species, like a long-beaked bird that can reach fish in shallow waters, so they stay in that environment. Then they breed and the longest beaks survive, but the beaks become so heavy that they can't fly, and the children's beaks become so small that there isn't any food left for them. On the other hand, humans build tools to make up for their shortcomings. In the past, we learned to throw spears so we could eat. Today, we learn to text our social circle on our phones so we aren't seen as outcasts. All technological advancement around you was a hedge against the extinction of the human race. In other words, humans are generalists that solve problems that prevent our extinction. We don't niche down, resulting in extinction. And yes, we're going to apply this to business soon, with starting a business or just choosing a niche to go into in the future. A question there: are you building something valuable to prevent your replacement? Or are you content with a single skill as a cog in someone else's machine awaiting extinction? Humans are natural generalists. This is what we do. We thrive at an overlapping intersection of interests and skills that allow us to adapt to most niches or most opportunities by building tools, acquiring new knowledge, and learning new skills. I want to tell you exactly what to learn in order to become a generalist. What I'm about to share with you is a stack of skills from big picture to technical details that will allow you to think for yourself, make better decisions, and secure your future. Now, someone who I really love learning from and just reading on Twitter is Devin Erickson. And he's talked a lot about the 7 liberal arts, or as he coins them, the 7 liberating arts, because that's what they're supposed to be. The liberal arts are liberating arts. What's taught in liberal arts school are not liberating. So, these 7 liberating arts are logic, how to derive truth from known facts; statistics, how to understand the implications of data; rhetoric, how to persuade and spot persuasion tactics; research, how to gather information on an unknown subject; practical psychology, how to discern and understand the true motives of others; investment, how to manage and grow existing assets; agency, how to make decisions about what course to pursue and proactively take action to pursue it. If you want to learn these skills, you must hold them in your mind as you dive into the unknown or as you take a new path, because you don't just learn something by reading it. You hold it in your mind and you let new experiences in the chaos of the unknown bring that clarity to your mind and allow you to practice those skills in real time. So if you prepare yourself with these things top of mind and they slowly just become a part of who you are and your identity and what you do, whatever technical skills or skills that won't be relevant in 20 years or the skills that are relevant in 20 years, you'll be able to learn them fast and you'll be able to get results with them fast because you have the underlying traits that make those skills successful. So to learn the liberating arts, here is exactly what I learned. Think of these next skills as vessels for learning the softer skills that we just talked about. First is marketing and sales, because if you don't know how to attract and persuade, you will never get what you want, and your only option will be for an employer or the government to give it to you. This covers rhetoric and psychology. 2 is writing and thinking, the ability to communicate the value in your unique mind, the foundation of getting in front of other people. This covers logic and research. 3 is entrepreneurship, the process of taking my future into my own hands, hunting for my survival, and building products that I want to see in the world that others care about. This covers statistics, agency, and investment. Entrepreneurship may not be a skill, but it is a meta skill because it teaches you how to be high agency and how to solve problems, how to create a solution to those problems and sell the solution. And along the way, you cultivate the traits that make you unemployable or irreplaceable, because what I mean by unemployable is that you just could never go back to being employed because it doesn't make sense, because you can make more on your own. You can control your lifestyle on your own. It's all a skill. It's not luck. It's not like these entrepreneurs are just like, oh, yep, I know exactly what to do. No, they practice it and they fail and they learn something that you don't really get at a job outside of a narrow boundary of the context of the work you're working on with a specific skill. Now, the thing here is that nobody can teach you how to write, think, market, or sell, or how to do these skills. The good thing about that is that they can only show you how they do it. I can only show you how I write, or how I market, or how I sell. And that's completely different from other people. And that's a great thing because you can study multiple perspectives, practice them all, and create your own way. That means if you want to learn these skills, if you want to learn any skill, then you have to embrace a self-experimentation mindset. You can't just watch tutorials all day. That's not how learning works. So your job is to research processes that others have found success with. Read books, use Google search, binge watch YouTube tutorials. Self-education must become a daily 30 to 60-minute habit. This isn't optional. Experiment with various techniques. Implement the processes you learn and attempt to get results. Identify patterns and principles. Note the similarities between each and double down on them. Create your own process. Tailor what you learn to your unique lifestyle and situation. Contribute to true education by passing it down. Give people education that can't be taught in schools with a fundamental grounding in critical thinking. With entrepreneurship as your vessel, you set the scene for true education and sovereignty, because true education is about discovery, not memorization. You have to dive into the unknown, discover, make sense of the world. It's sense making, it's clarity. It's not being told or forced to learn something that you don't care about, that serves a goal that you didn't choose to pursue. So with these future-proof skills that I've personally learned and that I think are a great option for most people because they're evergreen, is marketing and sales, writing and thinking, entrepreneurship. So with writing and thinking, you attract like-minded people. With marketing and sales, you persuade them. With marketing and sales, you understand the minds of your customer so that you can solve your own problems and create a solution for them that they will benefit from. You're not just creating a product to sell and steal money. It's a mutual exchange of value. Then you persuade, not force or deceive, as to why your option is potentially better. And if it's not a better option, that doesn't make it a scam. That makes it a product that you need to improve, or it's not going to survive. That's the beautiful thing about this, is that you have to improve. So if you're looking for the lazy way out, then yes, go work and do the replaceable task and get replaced and then get stuck in that cycle. That doesn't sound anywhere near as fun as just improving yourself and enjoying the challenge that life presents. So now that we have a foundation of future-proof skills, now we need to adapt to the times, because I can say, oh, do marketing and sales, do writing and thinking, and do entrepreneurship, but like, what do? That's where technical know-how or technical skills come into play in this modern environment. What do you need to learn that is relevant right now? This is what people are so worried about because they don't have the previous future-proof skills that allow them to adapt and learn the technical skills of the time. So this is what's relevant right now, but it may not be relevant in the future, but you need to be able to adapt. In this digital renaissance environment that we're in, this means that the technical skills are social media, so building a name for yourself as your storefront for the value you create, the command center for your business. Content, So writing, design, or video to educate, entertain, and inspire people to see your value, to attract people. So you actually have an audience that wants to buy your stuff, because if they don't buy your stuff, then you don't make an income. Simple. Email marketing, so newsletters or sequences to nurture the audience you acquire. Visual design, so illustrating the vibe of your brand to spark emotion in your viewers. Or something like funnel building, which is a bit more esoteric, but what that means is just like the intersections of landing pages, websites, and how you fuel them with the audience that you've acquired, or content or email. So where you're sending people, you attract them with social media, you get them onto your newsletter, then you send them to a landing page, then they purchase the product, then you talk to them about buying a service from you. You need to understand the ecosystem. The other thing is that the requirements to learn these skills are going to change as AI shakes the industry. They're going to be easier to learn because AI is going to be able to do these specialized tasks faster. We'll talk about how AI comes into this soon. I think you'll be surprised. But now the questions that you're asking are, what do I write about? What do I market and sell? What do I email, design, or leverage technical skills with? The interests you can't help but tell others about. The books you can't pull yourself away from. The ideas that flood your search history. The projects you dream of building but can't seem to make the time to build. And if you want my systems for writing, building an audience, building a product, creating your life's work, etc., discovering your life's work, or even if you don't care about the concept of a life's work, just creative work, go to there's the 2-Hour Writer course and mental monetization course, both there. You are the most profitable niche. The creator economy, not to be confused with the influencer economy, is characterized by individuals who pursue their interests and document their knowledge. Creators attract people to their vision, their story, their goals. AI is not curious. You must give it the context of a vision, story, or goal to work. Curiosity and generalism are your edge in attracting like-minded people who have problems you've solved in your life. The thing here with writing content, or you being the niche and attracting people to you, because the way you attract an audience to your business nowadays, if you're online, is there's a few different options. There's paid ads, which if we're going the route of not having startup money or doing it from $0 or just having a more potent way of doing it, then social media content and growing on social media. Other than that, there's SEO and other things, but social media in general, building an audience under your personal brand, is the most profitable, the most trustworthy, like with content and such. You don't need to worry so much about sales calls and how optimized your landing pages are and things like that. You just talk to your audience, people like who you are, and then you can build whatever you want. Nobody wants to follow a glorified search engine that just talks about the same thing all the time. And many creators tell me they're afraid to branch out into new interests because they have trouble seeing how that will work. All you have to do is look at everyone you follow. Are they talking about one thing? Some will say yes, but are they really? Or are they talking about their opinions, their interests, their beliefs? What are they posting to their story? If they talk about fitness, are they only talking about fitness? Or are they talking about family life and maybe what they learned as a dad? They're talking about everything. And you think they're in one singular niche when they're not, because they're human. So the question is that if you're talking about all of these different interests, it's like, well, what do I sell? And we'll talk about that soon, because that sparks a whole nother discussion, is like, how do you monetize? What are the actionable steps? We have stuff to cover. You don't find a profitable niche. You create a profitable niche through persuasion. You write persuasive arguments for why your interests benefit others' lives. You sell a product that aligns with that interest. You deliver both through technical skills like social media, email, and design. If you understood the future-proof skills and therefore human nature, you would understand that you can control the perception of your interests. Interest is generated. Interest is programmed. You are interested in specific things because of how you were raised and the information you were exposed to. You are interested in them for a reason. That means others can become interested in them with well-placed writing on social media. This has happened to you before. Go scroll the timeline and tell me something doesn't persuade you to change your behavior. Like if you have a weight problem and the right post about fitness comes onto your page, if you weren't interested in fitness before, now you're interested in it. You generate interest by targeting problems people are facing in their lives and introducing them to potential solutions that you've done yourself. And the other thing is that you spend your time, attention, and money on your interests. That means other people are going to do it too if you're the one showing the interests or teaching about the interests. Free people don't niche down.
You know, we told our kids to learn Russian in the 80s, Japanese in the 90s, Chinese probably in the aughts, and then engineering, if nothing else. Now that you're on the board of OpenAI, we asked this question to Mustafa Suleyman, who runs AI for Microsoft. What would you be telling your grandchild to go study?
I would be telling my grandchild not to go study coding. I mean, we used to say, it was only 15 years ago that everybody was supposed to learn how to code. You know, when I got my driver's license, my father told me I had to learn to fix a car. I certainly never told my kids that, and I certainly can't do any of those things because the world kind of figured out how to do it. So you didn't have to learn to do that yourself anymore, just like you don't have to learn to use a slide rule anymore. You don't have to learn to calculate a square root on a piece of paper. Coding's going to be like that.
Let's do a thought experiment. You're an entrepreneur, not an employee. You have multiple products you want to build in your lifetime, either before retirement or before death, because you found that retirement is an illusion and rest loses meaning without work. And if we never worked, we'd be miserable because we'd eventually crave to work on something. The problem with that now is that we just work on the wrong things. So we hate work, or we don't take enough rest, so we don't crave work enough. So in order to build those products, the ones you want to build in your lifetime, you need a brand with a mission, vision, and philosophy for their ideal customer, writing, speaking, ads, video, designs, and emails to attract and nurture customers, a persuasive marketing message that helps you stand out from the rest, a product that continues to iterate based on feedback, and more repeated across all products you plan to build. The common question that people ask on social media right now goes like this. Will writers be replaced if AI can write a landing page or a term paper? Will coders be replaced if AI can build an app? And the answer is yes, some of them, if they aren't in control of the vision. Computers are hyper specialists. Humans are deep generalists, a great combo, but not too effective on their own. Computers will only replace those who deserve to be replaced. AI can help you write the term paper, create the design, or edit the video faster, which gives more power to the individual using the AI, and that's what's created the ability for one-person businesses to make $10 million a year. There are many people who have done this, but the thing is that there still has to be an individual orchestrating the path toward the vision. There still has to be the creator using the AI in all aspects of the business, or the business using the AI in all aspects of the business, replacing the people working for it to achieve the vision of that company. The fundamental misunderstanding with people worried about replacement is that there will always be problems to solve. You don't know how to hunt. You're trapped in a repetitive string of known tasks assigned by someone else. It's obvious why you are a prime candidate for replacement. You don't grow or evolve. There's no novelty, no iteration, and no building toward a vision that exposes you to solvable problems that can't be found when you are at a standstill. If you rely on someone else to give you a problem to solve, you will be replaced. You need agency, creativity, and a purpose. AI can write a book, but that book is only valuable if it's marketed to, distributed to, and written for an audience that perceives that book as valuable because of persuasion. Try to have AI write a bestseller for you, and I'll wait a long time for you to do that because it can't. Why? Because a bestseller is not just about the writing. The AI can write the book, but what about the hooks or the connections to companies or the brands and creators with distribution for that book, or executing a marketing strategy on Amazon, or getting it into bookstores? And that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to a bestseller. It's not just about the writing, even though you think it is. So in the meantime, what you can do is learn AI and use it to get out of your work faster so you can start working for yourself. And now I already know what you're going to ask is, what do I work on to get out? If you've solved a problem in your life, you're qualified to start a business. Not just any business, an education business, as one person with zero startup costs with the knowledge you already have in your head, regardless of experience level. Most people try to build a startup or just have some crazy business idea after a night of drinking with their friends. They think their idea will change the world, but they're usually delusional because they don't have any prior business experience. If you had the idea with zero experience, meaning that your mind is limited in the ideas that you can have, or you haven't built anything that leads to better ideas, then I can almost guarantee that someone has already tried and failed with it. And I'm talking about like new ideas, like revolutionary ideas. There's a reason that people, and specifically creators, are making millions solving fitness, productivity, career, money, relationships, and lifestyle problems. Because every person has them. Because AI can help with the dissemination of tools and knowledge, but it can't actually change the behavior of an individual. It can't actually solve a human problem. An actualization problem. That's what we're going into, an actualization or a purpose or a meaning economy. And the majority of that is built on education. The reason those problems, productivity, fitness, etc., mental health, are so prevalent is because people can't enjoy life with those problems. And that's at the base of anything else. They can't do anything well if they don't enjoy life. So what better and more profitable problem is there to solve than one you experience every day? Now, of course, we're going to talk about this, but it's like, okay, well, there's enough information out there on this. And if you know what education is, or if you have self-awareness on how you become educated, you know that is just not true. You understand that people learn best from people that they actually relate to. So in terms of you are the niche and attracting people to you, the reason you're doing that and the reason why everyone can do this and can be a teacher to those under them who then grow and evolve, it's a natural hierarchy. You can see that this is needed because certain people learn best from certain people, usually people with very similar personalities. Some people aren't going to learn this information that I'm teaching good from me. It's just not going to stick with them because of my talking and teaching style. People say I'm robotic and emotionless, and sure I am, but I love listening to like stoic philosophers, and that's what gets through to me, or harsh advice. Some people don't jive with that, and because of that, they're not going to learn this information from me. So they need to learn it from someone else who relates to them better. That's the beautiful thing about this one-person business, is that if you are yourself and you can be yourself, then you can productize and monetize yourself. So let's make this whole one-person business thing simple. Build for yourself, write to yourself, sell to yourself. There are millions of people with the same interests, problems, and desires, and you only need to find a fraction of them. The most profitable niche is you. If you've gotten results in fitness, sell a fitness program. If you've gotten results with focus, sell a productivity course. If you've gotten results with a skill, sell a tutorial. If you've gotten results with psychology, sell a journaling prompt. If you've gotten results with spirituality, sell a meditation. The list goes on and on. Now, these products aren't all the same. They're made from experience, your story, what you found works for you. Kino Body, selling a 2 workout a week fitness program with his entire intermittent fasting philosophy, is much different from the bodybuilder who has completely different goals that they're both achieving, that they sell different solutions to. So you attract people to the goal that you're pursuing because you are the niche and you help people achieve that goal, and people are going to be attracted to different people. That's how the creator economy works. Another objection is that just, Dan, everyone's selling an information product nowadays. It seems like a scam. Well, I feel like I've already covered this objection with people learning different from different people, or however you would say that. But I genuinely feel like every single business on this earth should have some form of digital product or education product to help align them with what their brand mission and values are, to give people some form of meaning, since they've lost meaning in the other ideologies and things like that, like religion and even the school system or government, because that's all being shattered before our eyes. People need more decentralized meaning and purpose in their lives, given by individuals who actually pursue their own goals, think freely, and can pass that along with the education that they teach without being dogmatic or ideological about it. Another thing with that is it just shows that you don't understand business 101. You don't understand sell what's already selling. These things are profitable for a reason, and the economy favors the profitable. So digital products, education products, people want them because they're helpful. They're not helpful for you because you close your mind instantly and label it a scam, and it's no wonder why you stay the same for the rest of your life, because you don't learn, which is the prerequisite to improving anything. The school system is failing, and education is the foundation of humanity. Social media is the new town square. Creators are the new Renaissance men. Creators are the decentralized education system. Creators are the new economy. Even further, large companies like Ridge, yes, the wallet company, brought Marques Brownlee, a creator with massive distribution, as chief creative partner. We will only see this continue, along with companies bringing up in-house creators. There's a reason companies want their leaders to start a personal brand too. They want to survive. Another thing with me just ranting, feel free to skip past this part, is that you complain about certain skills not being taught in schools, but now that they're taught in public for free, you just complain that they're a scam. Please make it make sense. Like, oh, making money should be taught in schools, all relationships, like all the stuff that actually make life worth living or that allow you to take control of your own future. Now that they're taught in the new school system called the creator economy, you just label them a scam. Like, are you fucking serious? Because they're taught from the only people that can teach them. Because if they make money or they have good relationships or they do all of these sovereign things and the professors or the teachers aren't sovereign, why do you want the teachers or professors to teach you when if they had those skills, they wouldn't be a teacher or professor? Some of them would, out of passion, but you get what I'm saying. So in my eyes, the one-person business is for those who value self-reliance, time, and location freedom. We use social media for building leverage, attracting like minds, and building a name for ourselves from nothing. No-code tools and software for digital real estate, product hosting, and email lists that can't be taken away like social media. Lifestyle design to create a work schedule that best suits the individual, usually 2 to 4 hours of work a day to start, sometimes more if you get into the flow. So now we need to talk about how to actually monetize, how to actually earn an income and what to sell when you're just an absolute beginner. If you've helped your friends or family with any topic that you've ever learned about in your life, you have enough experience. Even more, how do you think you gain experience? I'll tell you one thing, you don't gain experience without stepping into the arena. You gain experience by practicing your skills in a real world setting. If a freelancer can reach out to get clients with zero experience in order to gain experience, because that's how you start any business, is you don't have experience, so you do work to gain experience at a lower cost or for free, whichever way you want to go with that. But in terms of writing or posting content online, people are like, oh, I'm so worried I don't have any experience. It's like, how do you think you gain experience? And it's better to do it that way than to do it as a freelancer. I'm not saying the way of doing it as a freelancer is wrong. I'm just saying if a freelancer can reach out potentially in exchange for money with zero experience in order to gain experience, then you can write a social media post online without promising anything. It's free content. You can do that without experience so that you can reap the benefits of articulating your thoughts in order to expose knowledge gaps, because that's the only way that you're going to learn faster. You're not going to learn and gain experience by sitting and reading about things. You're going to gain experience by getting direct feedback and criticism on your work. That's the only way, is by entering the arena. And if it helps to think of your writing as teaching, because that's what it is, and let's say you want to leverage the protege effect, which is that you learn more, the student learns more, the teacher learns more than the student, where teaching helps you learn more faster. It's like when you read a book and then you go and have a conversation with someone like a friend because you're excited about it and you want to share those ideas. You don't articulate it very well the first time around, right? But then over time, that's what helps it make sense to you and you slowly get better at something. People that you watch online aren't articulate because they're just magically articulate. It's because they've practiced and you don't notice the bad iterations because people don't care about you. When you are first starting out, when you have 0 followers, 0 experience, people don't care until you've actually gained the experience by doing it over and over again. The other thing here is that I like to think of my Twitter or just social media in general as my notes. I like to share the ideas that I found helpful myself. I like to give myself advice. It's like a public journal, right? I don't need to promise certain things like making $5 billion. I can just talk about my own experience and the ideas that I found impactful. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I don't think you need any experience to share an idea that you found in a book in your own words. So with that out of the way, let's actually get into the different paths you can take to start monetizing. The first is skill-based. So this is the typical thing that they tell you to learn, where it's learn a skill, teach a skill, sell a skill. You learn one singular skill. This can be very good. This is the option that most people take because most common advice is learn a marketable skill for your first thing and then sell the marketable skill. And it's like, I like that. That works. You can make money, but that also makes you one-dimensional. And if your entire brand or business is based around that, then you don't really have a way of pivoting out in the future. And then it gets boring and then you trap yourself in a new 9-to-5 and you can't get out of client work and can end up being a disaster. But I'm not saying to not start with that. I'm just saying if you do start with it, make it so you can evolve beyond it. Do not pigeonhole yourself into one niche. We're starting a personal brand or a creator brand because that allows you to be you and people like you and you attract potential clients and et cetera, et cetera. We'll get into it. But what I mean there is you build a diverse audience. You build a larger audience and you can gain clients through that audience for whatever freelance service you offer, or you can just go the typical route of landing freelance clients, which is like the manual route of DMs, etc. The reason you're building along with it, building an audience along with it, is to land the clients easier because you're providing value in the form of content. The clients like you because they see your personality. You're going to land the client over another person if you have an audience and if you are putting out content because they know you're legit. But you're usually going to, at the start, you're usually going to have to do the same monetization tactics that you would do without an audience. So if you want to learn those, check out Digital Economics, link in the description. The second path is development based, and that's what I'm all about. And I'm sure that's what many of you watching this are all about, because I know you guys have very similar interests as me, which is like human potential, self-improvement, psychology, metaphysics, philosophy, spirituality, etc. So this path, the development path, is based around the 4 eternal markets, which are health, wealth, relationships, and happiness. These are the eternal markets, the evergreen markets. These are where the problems within them that you solve to make money in business will never go away, because every underdeveloped person, that's a bad way of saying it. I mean no negative thing when saying underdeveloped person. I just mean someone who is new to the space or new to improving their mind, body, business, spirit. They haven't solved the problems in their life and they need help with that from someone of a like-minded personality. So what I mean by these are evergreen or eternal doesn't mean they're evergreen for the specific person, although they can be, because people go through cycles and they need help all the time throughout their life. That's fine. That's natural. I'm talking about the people who need to be raised up, and there's people born every day. This is just going to be a thing. And AI can't solve these problems. They can help you solve them, as we talked about, but the individual needs to change their behavior, and that can only be done, or it can be done by multiple ways, but it can be done best by learning from someone who they can relate with, a human who they can connect with. And with that, I genuinely believe that, you can go and look this up and watch videos on the topic of the purpose economy or the meaning economy or the human economy or whatever it may be, what comes next once our basic needs are met, thanks to AI solving the basic needs. But what's after that? The growth needs. Mind, body, spirit, business, improving, actualizing. That's where the money is going to go very soon. And that's where it's been going, frankly. But the other lines of work are going to be replaced or automated, except for the highest skilled people in those domains. So the thing with this is that path 1 only goes after the wealth domain. It's still an eternal market, but it only goes after the wealth domain. So it's one-dimensional by default. With path 2, you quite literally pursue your own goals in life, brand, solve your problems as you are pursuing those goals, content or writing, and create a system to help others do the same, which is your product or service. This is how you be yourself, improve yourself, and profit off of yourself. This is how you turn yourself into the business. And now, of course, the objections that flood everyone's mind during this time is like, but Dan, I've never done this before. I'm not experienced enough. And it's like, in terms of writing content or attracting people or helping people, you're just helping someone that's one step behind you. If you've lost 10 pounds, you're probably going to be the better teacher than the person who is super jacked trying to help a overweight person lose weight, because the person who is just a few steps ahead of them, they can relate so much closer. The bodybuilder or the trainer trying to train someone who has never done this in their life, they may be able to help, but it's going to feel so awkward for the person being trained, and they're not going to want to show up day after day. They want a friend. They want connection to be able to grow along with them. And the other thing is, you're not writing content like how I made $1 million in 3 days. You're writing stuff along the lines of how I plan to make $1 million in 5 years. Or you're not saying how I lost, even if you have zero experience, you're not saying how I lost 10 pounds in 2 months. You're saying, here's my plan to lose 10 pounds in 2 months until you gain experience. And then you can start talking about the results that you have. Now, path 3, which is very much my speed, is both. So the skill and the development. Because the beautiful thing about a one-person business is that you are forced to be a generalist. You need to learn any and all of the skills that make a business a success. So what are the benefits of that? The benefits are that you learn the skills that allow you to help other businesses for money. So by building your own audience and designing your own profile picture, and with graphic design and writing your own emails and writing your own content, that's 3 skills alone right there. And selling an affiliate product, you don't even need your product to practice marketing and sales. You just affiliate for someone else. Like when we have an affiliate program for Cortex, our writing app, you can take that, start talking about writing, help us sell it, and through that experience, create your own. If you want to create an app and compete with us, try. We encourage you to. We might lose, we might win, who knows? That's what makes it fun. But even then, you can build your own landing page for it based on the specific offer. You can learn all of these skills that you need to learn to run a business. And then once you have results in this new domain, you can help other businesses do it and start to work your way up the ladder in terms of how much you charge. And other things like soft skills along with that. If you're a one-person business, you need to acquire CEO level traits really quick. You need to learn to say no. You need to learn to systemize your work days into 2 to 4 to 6 hours a day, however long you want to work. From that, you understand productivity. You understand all of these soft skills that can then be packaged up. You don't have to sell anything related to making money. You just sell the traits that allow you to live the lifestyle that you live, which can be your psychology teachings or your productivity teachings or anything like that. And of course, this entire time you're practicing writing, because literally you're building on a laptop. The only thing that you're doing the entirety of your day is typing on a keyboard. That's writing, especially when you're texting your friends. That's writing. You're writing landing pages. You're writing content. You're writing video scripts. You're writing tweets. You're writing emails. You're writing whatever. If you want to learn my system for doing that, use 2-Hour Writer. I argue that that is the base foundational skill that you need to learn. Link for that in description. The other thing, and how this connects with the development side, because it's like, okay, yeah, I learned these skills to build my business. I have marketable skills. I have the wealth domain, but what about the development domain? What are you talking about once you're building the audience? You're talking about your interests. You're talking about health. You're talking about money, potentially wealth. You're talking about relationships. You're talking about happiness. So psychology, metaphysics, meaning, purpose, etc. All of those things are how you're building the audience, and you're sharing what you learn along the way. So this is where they merge, is you literally just build your own business without expectation of making money, and you set yourself up to make so much money. So literally just by becoming a creator, you develop the interests and skill set that allow you to be future-proof and hyper-profitable. An example of this is just Jose Rosado, who made a full-time income selling profile banners when he first started, and then transitioned into web design and made multiple 6 figures, if not way more than that by now, and then transitioned again into digital products, because the one-person business model favors your evolution. It favors you starting and doing whatever you want in the future. For those who want to do what they want and help the people they can help the most, traditional branding, marketing, content, and just offer creation is not really going to help you. If you go and learn from someone who's been doing this before the creator economy, or just like kind of outdated advice, it can possibly lead you in the wrong direction. And when I say wrong direction, what I mean is something that you don't actually care to do. You're only doing it to make money. It's like, hey, learn this business model, learn how to start an agency, learn how to do these things that you don't really care to do, but you're going to do it anyways because that's the only path you know to make money. In my eyes, the personal brand is like a meta business model. And it's the most powerful storefront of our times. Think of your personal brand as a digital storefront. What I mean by that is when you go and you walk around in your local area, there's physical storefronts, there's physical businesses. A personal brand is you online as a business, and anyone can find you. Anyone, if you launch a product in the physical world, you may have a line out the door and you can only accept credit cards every 1 minute, 30 seconds, however fast you can get through that line. In the digital world, you launch a product to way more people, let's say 50 to 100,000 to 1 million people, and you don't have any time waiting for those credit cards to swipe. You just see the notifications come in, bing, 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 bing. Of course, that's optimal later situation, but you can see what I'm getting at here. So the traditional business model involves creating a customer avatar based on someone with a profitable problem that you can solve. So the traditional way of doing this is, okay, I need to identify a problem and create a solution for it and solve it. With my way, the experience model, it turns you into the customer avatar. Your experience and story turn you into the niche. That way you can solve your own problems, attract people that are on a similar path as you, and help them do the same. Another bonus is that you don't have to spend countless hours doing market research to understand what will sell. Does that make sense? You pursue a goal, achieve it, talk about it, attract people with that same goal, and offer them a solution to reach it faster, a product or service. That's how you make an income. You help people you can help the most improve, but faster than you did. The first pillar is branding. In business, stop trying to find a problem to solve. Instead, understand the goal that people are trying to achieve. Then become an expert at solving the problems that prevent people from achieving that goal. Help them get there as fast as possible. That's what they want. Your brand is who you are, what you do, and what you're doing, or what you're going to achieve. You're attracting people to the vision for your future, or what you are achieving in life, or what you've already achieved. You're attracting people to goals to help them solve the problems that they want solved in their life, because you have experience helping those people. So what goal are you working towards? And what goals have you achieved? That's going to form the majority of your content. The goals that you're working towards are going to form all of the ideas that you have. You can read a book, pick an idea, and the way you make it original to you is you think of it through the lens of what you're trying to achieve in life. So if I read something like, oh, you should read more books. Okay, I'm going to take that. I'm going to think of my goal in life. I want to become smarter. I want to become more articulate. So I tack those on, and you need to read more books because they lead to you being intelligent, articulate, etc. And I create my own idea for that. That's a bad example, but you can see what I'm leading to there. That was just off the top of my head. Pillar number 2 is content, because beginners really need to understand that content is king. Content matters more than your bio. Content matters more than your profile. Content matters more than your landing page or your ability to do well on a sales call. Writing is the most important skill because it gives you so much more slack on other things. If you write content and people follow you and they read that content and they trust you and they get on a sales call with you, you don't have to be an expert at sales in order for them to sign on with you. But if you don't learn to write and you don't write content and you just get people through, like, let's say cold email, then you have to be extremely good at sales calls, and your closing rate matters a lot. And you need to pay attention to that because people are going to be much more skeptical of you. If people already want to buy what you have to offer because they've been following you for 3 months, your sales calls become so easy. You just get on, be like, hey, dude, you want to buy? Not that simple. But then they're like, yeah, dude. And then you send the invoice, they pay, you're done. It's because your message compounds in people's mind. Content compounds because your message compounds in people's minds. It clicks. Think of when you read a book, right? You read a book, you adopt that entire person's worldview, it changes your life. One singular idea in there is like, holy crap, this makes so much more sense now. When people follow you over time, it's like you writing a book to them over that time period. And it has a very similar effect. So the question is, what do you write about? You write about the interests, skills, and topics that you plan to master, the ones that will help you achieve your goals in a way that is unique to you. As I said earlier, and from the tweet above, you're not trying to solve a problem, you're trying to achieve a goal. So any idea or any writing or any topic that you have should be framed under the lens of a goal. The way this becomes unique is because if everyone has the goal of living the good life, how are you going to make it a reality? For me, that's studying the human mind and philosophy and business and spirituality. For another person, that could be web design and mindset and fitness. And for another, that could be automation, marketing, and productivity. If you put 5 people at the bottom of a mountain and asked how they would get to the top, they would all draw a different path. The unique combination of these topics are your niche. So how do you start writing about these topics? In digital economics, I teach the domain of mastery. So here's the image of it, but you have 3 interests, one that makes money, one that excites you, and one development-based. Development-based is like philosophy, spirituality, self-improvement, self-actualization, etc. And all of these overlap. These aren't like hard interests. And then beyond that, you break them down into the principles of that interest. So the things that really matter within that interest, then topics you can write about outside of that, mentors you can study and emulate, connections that can be made between them, and then real world problems that they can solve. All of those things, so principles, topics, mentors, connections, those are all ideas that can be filtered through a goal of what you want to achieve in life and then be written to help people achieve the goal. What you're doing with writing, I think this is the major click. What you're trying to do with writing is create an argument as to why people should go towards a specific goal and like how to get there, because that's what you're doing at any given moment. If you're not pushing people along, then your writing doesn't really have impact because impact causes movement. So think about that. You're creating an argument. So if I'm trying to convince people to live the good life, I need to give them the tools and resources and mindset and just ideas to allow them to go and achieve that. And remember that this is more than just business. Like as you're dissecting and learning about these things, you're improving yourself along the way. So pillar number 3 is offer. This is where we actually get into the monetization because you have a brand so you can attract people. You have content so you can get followers. Then you have an offer so you can monetize the audience because that's what business is. If you strip it down to exactly what it is, it's build an audience, monetize an audience. Doesn't matter if it's you're a creator or Facebook ads, that's an audience. Doesn't matter if it's Instagram, it doesn't matter, whatever. You build an audience, you monetize the audience. The thing with this is that no, you don't need to start waiting in order to start monetizing because I'm tired of hearing that shit. It's just a gatekeeper mindset. You don't need to wait. You need something to iterate on. If you don't have a product or service that you're selling right now, no matter how bad or how non-experience based it is, if it's just a curation, if you're selling 50 of my favorite quotes for $10 in an ebook, do that. So at least you can improve on it because your products will suck. Every single first iteration of anything will suck until you improve it, because you can only spot problems when there is actually a problem in real life. Otherwise, you're just solving fake problems that don't exist, and you're still not putting anything out to potentially get paid. So build a product right now. The other thing is that you just need to learn what it's like to sell. You need to understand that sales equals survival. And if you aren't selling or promoting yourself every single day, you're not going to survive, because someone isn't there to give you a paycheck every week or every 2 weeks. You have to do it yourself, and that has to become a habit, and you need to get good at that. That's how you survive. So what do you sell? I want to introduce you to the minimum viable offer. This is just a different way of me spinning the minimum viable product, but I can make it more specific and applicable to you. So the MVO is either a single skill freelance service that you can sell for $500 to $1,000. So that's like web design or email marketing or landing page copywriting or something like that. And then a single interest or skill consulting, coaching, or tutorial service where you can sell a pack of 4 calls for $500 to $1,000. And I would kind of always recommend starting off with number 2, because usually the people that you're selling to at this level like to learn things themselves, and they usually don't have the money or business to really pay for something themselves. Like, they don't want to buy a website. They want to learn how to build a website. So you can charge them for a one-on-one service to teach them how to build a website. That's what I'm talking about here. And then once you get better at that skill, you can either go on to consult larger companies as well, or you can sell the freelance service, or you can just eventually create a digital product so you're higher leverage and you can focus on writing, building the audience, and then the product or tutorial sells while you sleep, because you have an audience that can feel it. The reason we're going the service-based route of landing a client is because you don't have an audience yet. The beautiful thing about this is that you can start monetizing immediately. You don't need a landing page. You don't need anything, really. You just need to DM people, ask about their goals, ask what they're interested in, shift the conversation over to what it is that you sell, get on a call with them, sell them, or just sell them in the DM. You'd be like, hey, I have this program. Maybe you'd benefit from it. Do you want to hear more about it? Boom, bam, boom. You land the client. This isn't a video on landing the client. That's why I'm skipping over things like that. The other thing is that with this, you can build out a scalable product from the start. If you do a freelance service where you're doing the work for them, you don't really build a curriculum or productize along the way. You can, kind of, sort of, but if you're teaching someone, you can build a curriculum based on what you're learning and the feedback that you get, and then you can slowly turn that into a product, or you can even decrease the time you spend doing the client work for them, right? So or you can increase the effectiveness of it. You can still do 4 calls, but the reason you charge more is because you have week by week curriculum and action steps that makes the program more effective. And then eventually you just turn that into a course that can sell on its own until people want to work with you one-on-one. So pillar number 4 is marketing. And I'll just make this extremely quick, is that if you don't promote yourself, you're not going to make money. It's as simple as that. People come to me and they're like, Dan, why am I not making money? Or people come back to me and they're like, Dan, why am I not making money anymore? And the reason is because you're not doing the things that make money. You stop promoting yourself and you don't realize it. You cut off a certain channel and you just stop paying attention to that habit, and you didn't realize how much it was contributing to your revenue. So how do you market this service? One is content. You try to promote yourself every single day under one of your posts. Second is a lead magnet or a free download based on the basics around what it is that you sell. So if you sell web design, show them how to set up WordPress or a landing page, or sell a checklist, or not sell, but have a free download for a checklist. From there, they get entered into a newsletter. So you promote your lead magnet every single day to get newsletter subscribers. You write a weekly newsletter that gives more details and insights and valuable advice based on, let's say, web design for this. You promote your product or service, your service here, in your newsletter, and then that's slowly you promote every single day, and you refine that system over time. And if you aren't making as much money as you want, then you change something, you try a new strategy, so on and so forth, until you start to make money. It's just trial and error until you get there. People can give you an exact system. I can give you 2-hour writer to teach you how to write content and create a newsletter and have that be impactful, but that's still not a cure-all to everything. Like, a course is just education. You don't take one course in your lifetime. You take, like, life is a course, and most people aren't paying attention to it. The path to $1 million is one person working 4 hours or less. Do not work more than 4 hours. Start with client work, get results, make money, build your audience, productize your work. Repeat steps 3 through 5 until you reach 1 million. Then don't stop. I want to talk to you about a concept that I came up with called Coe's Law. Yes, that's named after me. Yes, I'm narcissistic. I think it's a cool name. Creative work evolves to earn more in the time allotted for its completion. This demands creativity, growth, and skill acquisition to solve problems that prevent this evolution. So we've all heard about Parkinson's Law, which is that work expands to fill the time allotted for its completion. But this is a step further. This is saying that creative work, or the correct work for you, or your life's work, has room to evolve, because with Parkinson's Law, I'm sure it accounts for this in some alternate dimension, but your work expands, but your income doesn't. So if you're only focusing on the same thing and your work doesn't evolve, then you're going to make the same amount. You're going to be doing less work if you follow Parkinson's Law, but you're not going to be making more over time. The reason I came up with this is because I just see it every day, and people talk to me every day in my DMs, and they say, like, Dan, I started out in freelancing. I don't know how to get out now. I feel like I built myself into a second 9-to-5. And I realize that as well. But if you're an entrepreneur, you see that that's a problem that needs solving. That's what entrepreneurs do. They identify problems and they solve it. So what's the next step after that? If you're a freelancer working through just cold outreach and gaining clients, you set yourself up to fail from the start. You didn't build an audience. With an audience, you can pivot out as your audience grows to different styles of offers that allow you to make more in the same amount of time. That's why I talk about the 4-hour workday philosophy as one person. I don't work 4 hours a day right now. I work a lot more because I'm building Cortex. But as a one-person business, it is more than possible to make $1 million plus a year working 4 hours a day. People don't believe me when I say that, but it just takes simple logic. It doesn't take too long to write 3 tweets a day. It just doesn't. It doesn't take too long to write 1 thread a week, especially if you get better at that skill. It can take less than an hour a day, probably way less than that, to write a week's worth of content. And if you're actually growing and you know how to grow on social media and you're generating millions of impressions per month, where do those millions of impressions go? If you spend 15 minutes a day promoting your work, if you spend 45 minutes a day writing a newsletter, you now have all of this traffic going to your product or service that at a specific conversion rate for however many people click through, that's a lot of money if you do the math. The reason you don't believe it is because then your entire life you've been conditioned to, oh, I work 8 hours a day. I make this amount of money for that amount of work. You're not in the entrepreneur mindset of entrepreneurs don't work on an hourly basis. They work based on the value that they provide. Some entrepreneurs, like, I don't understand where the dissonance here is, where some entrepreneurs, they don't work at all because they have a business that runs for them through automation and having a team, etc. The thing is that if you aren't seeing results, you aren't growing, you aren't actually selling anything, systemizing that process is just going to leave you there. You need to actually get good at what you're doing before that. So some metrics, if you aren't growing by 1,500 to 3,000 followers a month on social media, you're doing something wrong and you can do better. From there, I think it's pretty self-explanatory that if you have that consistent amount of growth over a year, 2 years, you can make a good amount of money, way more than you're used to. I'll add on to that. If you aren't getting 1,500 to 3,000 followers a month in under 30 minutes a day of work, you're doing something wrong. So let's actually break down how Coe's Law comes into play so you can evolve from $0 to $100,000 to $1 million. This will make sense. The first step is to just start with client work, because as one person without an audience, client work can be the best option. But I talk about ways around this in Mental Monetization. If you don't want to start with client work, you can check out Mental Monetization. I have strategies for building a digital product and being able to sell and grow your audience at the same time. So you can skip client work, but for the sake of illustrating this concept, we're going to start with client work. Because the thing here is you can land clients for $1,000 to, let's say, $10,000 if you're very good at what you do. So you only need 2 to 3 clients a month to replace your current income. So here, if we're sticking with a 4-hour time frame for doing work, here's what you're going to do. 1 hour per day prospecting for new clients, 3 to 5 hours per week on sales calls, 2 to 4 hours per week on client calls, 1 hour per week writing content for audience and clients, and the rest is filled with pour over time from any of these. Stage 2 is to build an audience and evolve one layer. Because with a client business, you can only take on so many clients with 4 hours of work a day. That's just how it goes. And so without the 4-hour workday cutoff, you're not going to have a time where you're like, oh, okay, I need to evolve. And if you work 8 to 9 hours a day doing client work, you're not going to have any time to evolve. So you need that buffer. So here's a path you can take when you're at that point where I have too many clients, my audience is growing, but I need to get out of client work or at least reduce it. First is just build an audience with writing, because you don't want to waste time on video editing and graphics yet. You use writing on social media and a newsletter to build an audience. And if you need an example of this, just look at my Instagram, LinkedIn, and X. So I'm not talking about creating these videos yet. I'm not talking about fancy reels or anything, just write. Next is use a new client model. So create a program, tutorials, or curriculum and take on more clients in a group coaching setting that brings your client work down to 1 to 2 hours a week. You can also get unique with your fulfillment here, where you can charge a bit less, take on more, but do less calls or no calls, right? You can do that. You don't have to conform to the typical coaching offer. You can create your own offer. So if I wanted to offer unlimited texts to me every single day while guiding them through a curriculum, I could do that and charge a lower price than I normally was and take on more clients and be able to handle more because of that. So that's what you do in the in-between stage. So now, thanks to Coe's Law, you've increased your earning potential from 100K a year with client work to 300 to 500K a year just by changing the way that you fulfill what you can do and having more of an audience so you can take on more clients and you have more potential clients in your audience. Stage 3 is to productize with your audience growth. Distribution equals freedom and an audience equals distribution. You can turn your client work into a digital product at any time for extra income. And the thing with that is when you sell a product and people buy it, people are more likely to hire you for client work as well. So just by having a digital product, even if you don't have that large of an audience, people can buy it. They see your expertise. They realize I don't want to do this myself or I need more help doing it. They reach out to you. You close them as a client. People with a digital product often land clients more and faster than people without one. So it's just smart to build a curriculum along the way as you're doing the client work so that you can sell that and get more clients in the future if you're dead set on client work. But then in this third stage, you create a cohort-based program. So you charge less than before, but take on more customers. And thanks to your large audience, you can earn more than a group client model while working the same amount of time. Next is build a standalone digital product. So you use your teachings and results from your client work to build a successful product. You build it once and it sells while you sleep, adding to your income. Then you can leave client work if you want. You may see a dip in income at the start, but that newly allotted time is used to diversify platforms, increase revenue, and improve audience growth speed. So again, thanks to Coe's Law, you've increased your earning potential from 300K a year to 1 million a year because you have a bigger audience, you have a digital product that you don't need to spend any time fulfilling aside from occasional support, and you can take on clients on top of that, and you can run a cohort-based program that every enrollment period, let's say you run 4 cohorts a year, that's a massive spike in revenue, and then in between that, you sell the digital product. So during this time, your time is allotted to 1 to 2 hours per week fulfilling your cohort program, 2 hours per day writing content to fuel growth, and 1 to 2 hours a day building products that could take you even further. So this entire time, through that entire evolution, you have worked 4 hours a day and you've increased your income because by working 4 hours a day, you forced yourself to change how you work in a more leveraged fashion. You didn't add on more work and ruin that possibility. You just focused on leverage and distribution, the things that you actually need to make money. And at this point, if you wanted to, if you still just wanted to make 100K a year, you could decrease your work time to 30 minutes a day. And then at this point, once you actually have this cash flow and distribution, you can build whatever you want. You can build a software, you can build your new startup. You have all of these connections. You have founders sitting in your audience. Or if you don't, you have an audience of however many thousand people that can refer you to them so you can get investors better, you can get a job better, you can find people for your team better. It's just an overall benefit. Now, if you want to learn more about the one-person business model, I have an entire playlist on YouTube for that series. It was a very popular topic of mine for a while, but specifically, I would recommend The Most Profitable Niche Is You, The Rise of the Value Creator, and anything related to writing. So there's a lot of them are just called Learn This Skill If You Want to Survive or things like that. You'll see them. You'll know them when you see them. And if you want me to teach you how to start one, you have to learn the skills necessary to start one. So that's writing with 2 Hour Writer, building a digital product with mental monetization, or you can get both if you grab digital economics. And that's just a larger masterclass. But personally, I'd recommend starting with 2 Hour Writer because you can always just upgrade. I allow you to upgrade in the actual module.